Today I'm going to show you how to make your very own homemade nacho chips entirely from scratch. Using just a little cornmeal, flour, some oil, and salt, you can make your very own nacho chips at home. You should see how tasty and crunchy these turn out. The thing I love about making my own nachos is I know exactly what's in them. There's no preservatives or any weird chemicals. You can enjoy these plain, but I'm also going to show you how to make a really nice Doritos dust seasoning that you can add to your nachos to make them even better. I hope you give these a try, but first let's learn how to make them. To begin making our chips, we have to make a dough. I'm going to start with a cup of yellow cornmeal. You could also use white if you wanted to. And this seems like a very medium textured cornmeal. I know that they come in different grades, but yeah, cornmeal. To that, I'm gonna add half a cup of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of salt, and I'm just gonna mix that together with a spoon until it's well combined. There we go. Now I'm gonna add a tablespoon of oil, any neutral flavored oil. And I'm gonna get in there with my hand and combine it really well until that oil disappears. So it should look kind of like basically the same as if you didn't even add the oil. Now I'm going to start adding some water. This is half a cup and I'm only going to add in half, so about a quarter of a cup to start. And I'm going to mix this together until it forms a dough. So that's pretty dry still, so I'm going to add more of the water, just half. You don't want to add too much. But if you do, just add a little more flour or cornmeal, or both. Our aim is to get a dough that we can easily knead. So I think I'm going to have to add the rest of that water. That was half a cup exactly, and we'll see where this gets us. I may need to add a little more. I think now I'm going to get in there with my hands because it's a lot easier to tell if it needs more water. Yeah, just needs a little bit more. Maybe just about a tablespoon's worth. We'll see if that's enough. It looks like it's coming together a lot better now. Just a little bit more. There we go. So in total, I added about half a cup plus a couple of tablespoons more of water. It's going to vary depending on your flour and your cornmeal, so I can't give you an exact measurement. You just have to kind of try. So now we're going to knead this dough for about 1 minute. Just knead it as if you were making bread. It really doesn't matter how you knead it. You could just move it around like this. As long as this thing is moving and developing a little bit of gluten so it's easy to handle later, that's what we're looking for. But you only need to handle it for about 1 minute. If your dough is still crumbly at all, just add a few sprinkles of water. This is really straightforward. Okay, so I've been kneading this dough for about a minute. It hasn't changed too much. If anything, it's just easier to handle. I'm going to put it back into the bowl and cover it with a little tea towel so it doesn't dry out. And I'm going to let it rest for 5 minutes. Now while that dough is resting, why don't we make our Doritos dust, or our chip seasoning that we're going to use. We're going to begin with our cheese powder, and this just came in a box of Kraft Dinner. I believe in the States it's Kraft Mac and Cheese. Either way, cheese powder is very easy to find on Amazon. I'll link it in the description below where you can get some. I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of that. In place of the cheese powder, you could also use nutritional yeast. A lot of vegans use this to simulate a cheese flavor, and it actually tastes really good. So you could even add some of that along with the cheese powder if you wanted to. Next, I'm going to add a teaspoon of paprika, and this is just sweet paprika, but you could also use smoked if you want to. A teaspoon of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Feel free to try any other spices you like. This is one of those things that there's so many recipes for it that you can experiment with whatever you like. Some people add chili powder. You can add some cumin. This Doritos dust is your masterpiece. Okay, so it's been more than 5 minutes now, and our dough is nice and rested. This feels perfect. Now we're gonna cut it into 3 or 4 equal pieces. I'm gonna do 4 today. Cut it in half and then in half again. And we're gonna work with one piece at a time. The other 3 pieces you'll want to keep covered so they don't dry out. I'm gonna shape this piece of dough into a disc and then roll it out into a nice flat circle. Just wanna roll it as if you're rolling pie dough into a nice circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle, and don't worry if your edges look a little rough. That really doesn't matter. The thinner you can make this circle, the crispier your chips will be. It's really nice to work on a wooden surface because the dough tends to stick a lot less. There we go. So we're looking at a circle that's about 8 inches or so. Now you want to take a fork and put holes all in the dough like this. In the culinary world, this is called docking, and it prevents air bubbles from forming while the chips are cooking. So there we go. And now with a pizza cutter or even just a knife, you want to cut them into equal-sized wedges or triangles. So I think we're probably going to do we're going to get about 12 out of each one here. You can make these as large or small as you want. And try to get the sizes even, more or less. And now using the bench scraper, I'm just going to kind of go underneath here and carefully set those aside so I can work on the other ones. So we'll just put them all on a plate like this, and be careful about piling them because they will stick eventually while you wait to do the other ones. So single layer, put them on a plate or some kind of a baking sheet or a tray, and then I'll go ahead and do all the other ones. If you're finding that your dough is sticking to your surface, just sprinkle a little flour on there and it should help you out. I'm not having any problems with this though, because again, I think that's because of the wooden surface. Wood really is very helpful when you're rolling out dough. And just a little reminder, if you're enjoying this video and you're finding it helpful or entertaining, please don't forget to hit that like button so it can reach more people. Okay, so now I have all my raw nacho chips ready to go. Now we're gonna start frying them. So here I have my oil. I'm gonna put only about 1 inch or so in that pan. And you want to heat it up on medium until it reaches about 350 Fahrenheit or 177 Celsius. And a really great way to test the oil to see if it's hot enough, just drop in a little piece of the dough, and if it doesn't bubble like that, it's not hot enough yet. But if you see that it does start to bubble, then it should be ready to go. You don't want to make it too hot. There we go. When it starts doing that, then your oil should be hot enough. So now I'm going to start dropping in my chips. Just carefully lay them in a few at a time. You don't want to overcrowd them. So there, I have about 6 or 7 chips at a time. Fry them for about a minute on one side and flip them over and fry them for another 30 to 45 seconds on the other side. So we'll just flip these. You'll see that they'll have a very slight golden brown color to them. That's really good. You can also use a fork to flip them. Then you can scoop them out onto paper towel, or I like using this rack. This is actually a crisper that's meant for deep fried foods, so they don't steam on the bottom. So I'm going to keep frying these until they're all done. Remember not to overcrowd them, and don't let the raw chips sit on top of one another for too long, because they will start to stick. Oh wow, I fit a lot in there this time. Oh, there's 9 chips in there by the looks of it. And here's what the finished ones look like. Oh, they're really hot. Ouch. You'll see them later. Okay, so now we're gonna flip them over just like so. Oh, they look so good. I can't even describe how good these turn out. Just gonna keep frying these until they're all done. I'm just gonna taste a little scrap here. Oh, they're so yummy. There we go. All right, so now all my chips are fried up. This is how many you get out of the batch that I just showed you. Now, while they're still hot, I like to take a paper bag and I'm gonna add half of my chips And now half of the seasoning. Now we'll add the rest of the chips and the rest of the seasoning. Just close the top really well like this. Just go back and forth like that until you have them all coated. And there we have our perfectly seasoned nachos with our mock Dorito dust. So let me give this a taste. They're so good. I'm pretty sure that when you make these nacho chips, you're gonna enjoy them quite a lot. Though I will admit, they don't taste exactly like Doritos. But who knows, you might end up liking these more. I think I do, to be honest. So I really hope you give these nacho chips a try, and if you do, let me know in the comments how they turned out for you. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then I really hope you're gonna share it with all your friends. In the meantime, check out this hot water cornbread recipe from the Great Depression.